Well, hello there, and welcome to the first episode of Cadillac Joe D's Kitchen. Kind of thought we'd do some shows like this and take you around the country to different rallies, events, talk about different products, discuss all kinds of things. It'll be a lot of motorcycle industry stuff because, as many of you know, that's what I do for a living. Been in the motorcycle industry for many years. But I welcome you, and as you can see, this literally is my kitchen. No expense was spared for this set. But anyway, the main subject today is going to be part 2 of a story I call The Journey to Vegas. This is about Power Sport Institute, about building a bike and assembling the bike on stage at the Las Vegas Bike Fest in about 2 weeks' time. It's towards the end of September. Now, a little side note, if you hear noise in the background, dogs, whatever, that's why I work. My family, my animals, my children, whatever. But this show today, our featured sponsor is Speedway Shelters. Now, I just want to tell you a little bit about this product. Now, just check this thing out. Speedway Shelter is a device. It's a cover. It's a bike cover. And it's actually solving the problem of many homeless motorcycles and power sport vehicles for a few years now. Real cool deal. This is the tabletop display that you might see in a dealer, and I'll tell all the dealers out there how to go about getting this thing. But a little about the shelter itself. Comes in 2 sizes. Standard, which would be for a sport bike, Harley, maybe a Super Glide, something like that, Sportster. On the second size, it's a touring size, much larger shelter. Retail prices range between $325, $425. Great piece. Now let me just tell you a little bit about this thing. As you see, this is a miniature model of the shelter. This is a tabletop display that, again, as you might see in a dealership. The shelters are fully powder coated. The frame is all powder coated. As you can see here, I mean, literally, this is just a miniature version of what you would buy and put your bike in. So it's nicely powder coated. It assembles with no tools whatsoever. About a half-hour assembly time. And this weekend, I've actually got a brand new shelter here that's never been assembled, and I'm actually going to have my 11 and 9-year-old daughters assemble this thing and show you just how easy it is. Very cool piece. Anyway, the shelter is made of high-strength aluminum, powder-coated. As you'll see right here, there's a tab for locking the shelter down with a padlock. The fabric is made of water-resistant and UV-resistant material. So this thing isn't going to leak. It's not going to fade. It's going to work great for you. As you'll see here, and again, the miniature model, but all to scale, there are flaps for venting on this thing, same as you'd see on the full-size unit. Now, these are put here by design. The size is precise. The placement is precise to be able to cut down on condensation, leakage, things of that nature. You can buy a rubber flooring for it, which we highly recommend. This device is best used when attached to a suitable substrate. Preferably if you can get it on cement, that's a great thing. If you have to put it on dirt, I would recommend myself 3/4 inch plywood. Lag it down, comes with the hardware for that as well. Great piece. Now, you would use this, as I do, any place that you would use a bike cover. So it doesn't necessarily have to be used outside. If you're like me, I've got children, they got bicycles in the garage, they've got soccer balls, all kinds of stuff in there. I pull my bike in, it's still hot. I flip the cover up, pull the bike in, don't have to worry about the cover touching the bike, marring up the paint, getting melted on the hot pipes or anything like that. You just pull the bike in, put the cover down, walk away, good to go. So, obviously designed for power sport applications. However, here's the trick. You can use this thing for anything. The touring size shelter I believe would probably fit darn near a cord of wood. You could put riding lawnmowers in there. I've got one that I'm going to use for my shed out back in my subdivision. They don't allow sheds, you know, it's the subdivision Nazi won't allow any sheds. So I put this thing up. I can put my lawnmower, all my lawn implements, bicycles, anything that I don't want in my garage or I don't have a place for, I can use this Speedway shelter. Now, this tabletop display. This can be obtained by dealers by buying 3 shelters, and then you'll get this for free. And this is, as you can see, a nice quality piece, good for your showroom. It's not a cheap unit, so you buy 3 shelters, you get it. Now, the shelters are available at Speedway Shelter, so you would go to www.speedwayshelters.com, or any Tucker Rocky and Biker's Choice dealer will have this thing available. So dealers, you can go to TR, BC, down in Fort Worth, Texas. They can hook you right up. Most of you probably do business with them already. They've got them on the shelf. We're very proud and honored to have them distributing for us. Excuse me. They're good pals of mine. My friend Charlie Hedaya got us in the door, and we're off to the races with it. So now, how does this thing pertain to the Vegas show? Well, Power Sport Institute, as you'll see further down, there's going to be a link below this video on the web page that will take you to the part 1 of the Vegas story, the journey to Vegas. And it explains how we get involved in it and who's involved in it. The major sponsor of this, in terms of the parts to build this bike, is Thompson Choppers, just south of here, down towards Springfield, Missouri. He donated a beautiful bobber chassis, front end, going to be real cool. But what's happening is the students, with the guidance of the instructors at Power Sport Institute in North Randall, Ohio, which is a branch campus of Ohio Technical College, excuse me, is there as we speak, mocking this bike up, putting it together. The painting's going to be done in-house. All the work is done in the building by the students. Now, once they get it mocked up, ready to go, they'll disassemble. This whole deal is going to be hauled out to Las Vegas the end of September for Las Vegas Bike Fest. And what's going to happen there is we're going to have I believe it's about a 30 by 70 booth for PSI, Power Sport Institute. In that booth, you'll see a stage, an area, where those students are actually going to assemble that bike before your very eyes. It'll go from sub-assemblies on a table to a gas-burning, running, rideable motorcycle. Very cool. You're going to love it. And this bike will be, I believe, magazine material and featured somewhere along the way. I'm certainly going to do my best to get that done for the school. Now, in addition to the bike build, we're going to have our large PSI trailer, and we're going to display and demonstrate some of the artwork that our airbrush artists can do in the paint portion of the curriculum. And what they're going to do, which we just did last week at the Thunder on the Strip show in Geneva, Ohio, they're going to do body art. They're going to do tattoos, airbrush tattoos, be done for free. People are going to love that. It's a great demonstration. We'll show how we do pinstriping and so forth. We'll have many of our sponsors involved in this thing, one of them being Speedway Shelters. If you come by the booth, if you're at that show, come by the booth and sign up for a chance to win a Speedway Shelter touring size. So that's a $425 retail at least, for free. Free door prize. We just want your information so we can put you in our database and spread the good word about PSI. From there, we've got several of our sponsors that have stepped up. Yuasa Battery sending some stuff. Jim's Machine is sending some tools, literature, some swag as they call it. DP Brakes, I believe S&S is sending some stuff out. And if I forget any of you, when we get there, we'll do a video. We'll make sure everybody gets their due on the list, because we've got a ton of them stepping up, helping us out, and we really, really do appreciate it. It's a great thing. Spectro Oil, my pals in Connecticut are going to step up. That's Rollin and Dave and my old pal Ken. So we're going to be giving away a ton of stuff. We're going to have the International Master Bike Builders Association there with us. So if you have any questions about IMBBA, by all means, we'll be able to answer those questions. There's a lot of stuff going on. But right now, what I'd like you to do is sit back and relax. I was at PSI recently, and I wanted to check on the progress of this build. So check this out. This is your old pal Joe D, and this is part 2 of the journey to Vegas. As you can see in the background, I'm at the American V-Twin department. This is at Power Sport Institute, right on Emory Road in North Randall, Ohio. It's a branch campus of the Ohio Technical College. And we're here today to check on the progress of that Thompson Chopper chassis that was donated recently for the bike build that's going to be going to Vegas. This deal, just if you hadn't seen the part 1 of this, we've got a chassis, we've got a lot of donated products from various companies, Biker's Choice, and we've got S&S engine and Thompson Chopper chassis and all kinds of cool stuff going on here. And what's happening is right now, as we speak, this bike is getting mocked up, painted by the guys at OTC. Everything's done right in-house at Power Sport Institute or Ohio Technical College. Earlier about the Thompson Chopper chassis on this bike that's going to be going to Vegas. This is obviously part 2 of the journey to Vegas. Thompson Chopper chassis, the struts that Paul had cut up on his plasma cutter. The interesting thing about this, now you see a 124 S&S engine, Primo Rivera belt drive, brand new Avon tires. But the interesting thing to note on this is a real world situation, a real world build. What I mean by that is the typical customer that goes into a motorcycle shop or to a custom builder wants a bike. And, you know, naturally it'd be nice to buy all brand new components. We don't all have the budget for that. Maybe I've got a bike that I took the calipers off of, I took a wheel off of, whatever the case may be. Might have gone to eBay, swap meets, whatever. Budget constraints hit all of us these days, so the technicians that come out of PSI need to know how to not only use brand new components, but adapt existing components, you know, genuine HD components. In this case, we see the caliper here, Fat Boy tire. So this bike is going to be a culmination of brand new products, of used products, and it's all going to be set up with fit, form, and function in mind and safety. Just as they say in the IMBBA, so you're going to end up with a finished product that's a beautiful piece, magazine material, but it's not all brand new components. That's the real world, folks. So PSI, they're setting people up to go out into the real world and work on bikes and products and projects that they're going to run into in these real situations, working for a shop, being a shop owner, and so forth. I think it's a very cool thing, you know, to take everything out of a package is great. That ain't real. You know, we don't all have bottomless pit of money. So PSI, they're going to have students coming out of here that can safely stretch a dollar, work on your bike, and hook you up with what you need. That's a very cool thing in my book. What do you think of that? This thing's going to be nice. Endless lines. You can't beat the old school with new school technology. And as you see, we try to train the students in the real world. You know, when you build a bike, you can't always buy all new stuff. So this thing is going to be a culmination of good used parts, a lot of new stuff, a lot of donated stuff with the talent of students that are devoted to their craft under the guidance of the instructors. Ron Redicke is the education manager in the V-Twin division of PSI. He'll be there in Vegas, so it's all good. So please, if you're there, come by and see us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, a little more about this show. Joe D's Kitchen, as I said, it's going to be about the motorcycle industry. It's going to be stories. It's going to be all kinds of things that we're going to talk about. Hopefully it'll be entertaining, it'll be informative, and being in the kitchen, yeah, we're actually going to show you some recipes. And I'm going to show you one right now. Check this out. Do you like eating your veggies? Do your kids like eating the veggies? Yeah, steamed vegetables are good. Raw vegetables are good. Kind of bland, kind of boring. So my children and myself, we like to roast our veggies. It's all good. It's delicious. And check it out. You can buy the stuff already cleaned, ready to go. All you got to do is simply dump it out. It's a real quick, easy deal. Dump it out. You cut up some of the stuff. My old friend Tiki Bidet, Wild Bill Bidet from Franklin, Mass, showed me how to cook, how to roast stuff. He always said, my father was a doctor, so a lot of those older guys called me Doc. He'd say, Doc, a lot of oil, a lot of olive oil. So we use a lot of olive oil. Now, mind you, you can cook in it. It's fairly healthy compared to other types of oils. What I do though, is after the dish is done, I do drain the oil. So we get the flavor, but we don't get all the calories. The next ingredient is lemon juice. Now you can use fresh. In this case, just out of convenience, I'm using the bottled stuff. Little salt. We don't go too crazy on the salt, but you got to have it just the same. My father, as I said, was a doctor. He said if you're craving salt, make sure you eat it. Little pepper, got to have the black. My old pal Elio used to love the black. Now, I use powder versus fresh, and I'll tell you why. This is onion powder, garlic powder, Italian seasoning. My kids, though I love fresh, and you can't beat fresh garlic and fresh onion, but my kids don't like the texture. They like the flavor, but they don't like the texture. So when I make sauce, I make dishes like this, I use the powdered stuff. The flavor is still great. It's not quite as good as the fresh, but it's all good. Now, as far as quantities I'm using, I just coat it. I'm totally winging it, just like I'm winging this show. Italian seasoning, you can never get too much of that. It's all good. And you're going to see that. Now, you set your oven on 400. You throw it in for an hour. Now what I do, rather than cover it with tin foil, I use an aluminum pan. Makes it a lot easier to deal with. Cover it up, set the timer for an hour, actually set it for 50 minutes. At the 50-minute mark, take the cover off, let it roast for another 10 minutes, pull it out, it'll be golden brown. Then I put it in a colander, I drain it, and I eat it. It's delicious, it's healthy. The kids will love it. Your guests will love it. Everybody's going to love it. So that's it. This is the first edition, the first episode of Cadillac Joe D's Kitchen. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to bring you many more shows with a lot of interesting stuff. There'll be some funny stories. As I said, there'll be motorcycle industry stuff. We'll go to cruise nights, hot rod nights, rallies, events, trade shows, you name it. There'll be all kinds of stuff. But it'll always be entertaining. And remember, Cadillac Joe D, I approve this message, and I'm always glad to see you. Thanks for stopping by.